I believe that attitude is everything in life. We have a choice every day to have either a great attitude or a bad attitude. It's that simple. You can choose great or choose bad. So what's your choice going to be today and every day moving forward? Look, I say this because I've experienced this in my own personal life. Before I got in the car business selling cars, I was financially broke. I had no future. And quite frankly, I was simply lost. If I take you back a little further, I dropped out of high school in the 10th grade. I didn't make very good choices when I was a teenager. I did a lot of bad things, did a lot of drugs. I simply made bad decisions and bad choices. I didn't grow up in a bad neighborhood. I grew up in a good middle-class neighborhood with a good mom, a good dad, a good family. I made the bad choices myself. Now, back in 1991, that's when my life changed for the better. I met the most beautiful woman I've ever seen in my life. Now, at that time in my life, I really had no future. I had no vision, no goals, definitely nothing to brag about, that's for sure. I was working odd jobs, digging ditches, running pipe, doing construction jobs just so I could make a few bucks. I mean, I don't even remember what I was making back then. Maybe it was $8 or $10 an hour, whatever it was. I mean, you have to remember, I'm a high school dropout. And my mindset at that time in my life was not one of abundance. It was one of failure. It was pre-programmed that if you drop out of high school, you're going to go nowhere in life. At least that's what my parents told me, and people close to me told me. And guess what? I believed it. So after dating this hottie that I couldn't even believe she said yes to me on going on my first date, after a few months, I figure, hey, I better ask this chick to marry me, all right? Because if she realizes that she's dating a high school dropout loser with no future, she's probably going to break up with me anyway. So, I mean, at least when she wakes up, she's going to break up with me. So I asked her to marry me. And guess what? She said yes. I couldn't even believe it. Now, I didn't realize at the time, but that was my first real close. I asked the closing question. She said yes. I didn't even have to overcome any objections at that time. I mean, I didn't even know what objections or closing techniques were. But hey, I didn't have to at that time. And we will cover overcoming objections and closing within this course. But for now, let's get back to the story. So we get married and we have our first child, like, real quick, okay? A beautiful baby girl. And we named her Alexandra. So now here I am. I'm 24 years old. I'm a high school dropout. No real job or any kind of a future to speak of. Married to a beautiful woman. And now I have to provide for a family. Now, I'll never forget the day that literally changed my life. My wife and I went to go pick up food stamps because at that time we were on welfare. And I remember my wife walking up to that welfare facility, and something came upon me. And this thing that I call God, and you can call it whatever you want, but I choose to call him God. This thing said to me, Matt, you need to change your life and change it now. I had no idea what I was going to do. I had no idea where I was going to land, but I did know that I needed to do something. So a few days later, I was out job hunting, looking for something that I could do to make ends meet. Something different that I was currently doing in the construction industry. So I walked into my first car dealership, and I met my first mentor. His name was Art Bell. Now, Art took a liking to me. He hired me on the spot. Now, I remember the one thing that Art said to me in that interview that I'll never forget for as long as I live. He said, Matt, he says, I don't care about your previous past history. I don't care about your education level. He says, I care about where you're going and what your goals are and the goals that you have. He says, if you have the belief in yourself that you can achieve something, then you will. Then he asked, do you believe you have what it takes to be successful selling cars? So I said, yes, right? I mean, what else am I going to say at that time? Then he said to me, well, if you treat people right, you always do the right thing, you never lie to people, and you give them what they want. If you combine those four things with a little bit of hustle, then you're going to be successful in the car business. Now, back then, they had a great training program. Man, they patted you on the back, they gave you a pen, and they said, there's the inventory, there's the brochures, I'll be sitting over there at my desk. Hey, if you need me, holla, go get a customer. Good luck. So, needless to say, it was definitely a feast or famine business. I mean, strictly commission, man. You don't sell, you don't earn. I remember going back home from the interview, and I remember telling my wife, I said, I was so excited, you know. I said to my wife, honey, you're not going to believe this, man. I got a job. She was so excited I was telling her all about it, and then she asked me that dreaded question. She says, well, tell me something, Matt. How much are you going to get paid? I turned around. I said, I'm going to get paid nothing. She said, what? I said, nothing. I work off a commission. She says, man, have you lost your mind? Long story short is my wife has always been behind me no matter what. She's truly been that rock that I've always needed. And that's why today we're still married for 27 years. We have 2 beautiful children and the most handsome grandson in the world. I started selling cars, and in the beginning, it was tough. I didn't make much money. I was struggling. It was very hard in the beginning. Remember now that we didn't have the training that you're going to be going through today. Literally, they just kind of threw you out there and said, good luck. The one thing that Art did instill inside me is that your attitude is everything. If you're positive, if you're enthusiastic, and you smile, you're going to sell cars. He gave me a book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. He told me to read this book, and it can possibly change your life. Now that book, and along with hundreds of other books, it has completely changed my life. I highly recommend that everyone reads Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. That was the real first motivational type of attitude adjusting book that I've ever read. And it did change my life. It made me realize that attitude and belief in yourself is 90% of the battle. It made me realize that attitudes and belief is everything. And that even though I was a high school dropout, even though I had a checkered past, it didn't matter what I did in the past. It's all about what's in the future. It allowed me to start to believe in myself, believe in my talents, and believe in my abilities to achieve whatever success that I wanted to. I wound up working my way up in the car business with that company, from salesperson to a finance manager, to finance director, to sales manager, sales director, used car manager, general sales manager, and then all the way to general manager. Right after that, I opened up my own successful car dealership. I started making more money than most doctors and attorneys, all because I changed the beliefs that I had in myself, and I changed my bad attitude to a positive one. I changed a bad attitude to an I can attitude. Now, I don't tell you this story to impress you. I tell you this story to impress upon you that if I can do this, so can you. There's so many stories of people that never went to college, never had business experience, but what they did have is that they had dreams and desires and the will to succeed. I tell you this story because I want you to know no matter what situation you're in right now, you can achieve whatever levels of success that you set your mind to. It's all about your attitude and your belief. As we dive into this section, I want you to understand and challenge yourself to be the best you that you can be. Challenge yourself to be positive on a daily basis, and challenge yourself, no matter what situation you're in at that moment, to look at everything in a positive way, not a negative way. I like to finish with a writing from Charles Swindoll, which is appropriately titled Attitude, and it reads like this. The longer I live, the more I realize the impact of attitude on life. Attitude, to me, is more important than facts. It is more important than the past, than education, than money, than circumstances, than failures, than successes, than what other people think, say, or do. It is more important than appearance, giftedness, or skill. It will make or break a company, a church, a home. The remarkable thing is we have a choice every day regarding the attitude we will embrace for that day. We cannot change our past. We cannot change the fact that people will act in a certain way. We cannot change the inevitable. The only thing we can do is play the one string we have, and that is our attitude. I am convinced that life is 10% of what happens to me and 90% of how I react to it. And so it is with you. We are in charge of our attitudes. Get ready for an incredible journey in an incredible business that can literally change your life and allow you to create the life that you only dreamt about. Welcome to the car business. Now, let's get started.